Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are literally tearing the lid off of something so constant and so deeply embedded in our daily lives that we barely even notice it's happening. I'm talking about the invisible conversation that we all have with ourselves every single day, all day long. We're going to explore exactly how your self-talk mechanically shapes your real-world results, and more importantly, how you can step up and take total control of it.
Let me ask you something right out of the gate. Would you spend time with someone who spoke to you the way you speak to yourself? Seriously, if you could broadcast your internal thoughts and you heard someone talking to your best friend the way your inner voice talks to you, you'd probably tell them to get lost, right? We are so often our own harshest critics, and if we allow that inner voice to just constantly tear us down, it becomes incredibly toxic to our confidence and our overall health.
Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, I don't really talk to myself. But guess what? You literally just did it right now by having that exact thought. We are relentlessly having a conversation with ourselves. There's this hilarious story from speaker Dan Moore that hits the nail on the head. His mom used to tell him, Dan, if you see someone talking to themselves, get across the road and stay away from them. We try to hide it, we don't do it out loud in public, but the truth is, the internal dialogue literally never stops.
Okay, let's dive into this mechanics of it all. Think of your mind as this four-phase engine, like a self-confidence cycle. It all kicks off with your self-talk. The specific words you use shape your self-image. That image then completely dictates how you act and behave. And finally, your actions directly drive your real-world results. It's a mechanical, entirely predictable cycle where every single step dictates the next one.
To put that into perspective and see how this engine actually runs, let's look at two high school students coming from identical tough backgrounds. Student A's self-talk is, I'm not good in school, I just can't handle this. Well, that instantly creates a self-image of a bad student. The resulting action? They don't study and they skip class. The result? Bad grades. Now look at student B. Their self-talk is, I can be a good student if I work at it. That creates a self-image of a highly capable learner. Their actions shift entirely. They study, they ask questions. The result? Great grades. Same exact background, completely different real-world results, all dictated by that initial internal narrative.
So the secret here isn't just having good self-talk, it's how we actually deploy it. We usually treat it like medicine, but it's not some cheesy rescue phrase you suddenly pull out of your pocket only when you're feeling incredibly discouraged or sick. Actually, scratch that, we need to adopt a vitamin mindset. You don't take a vitamin C capsule after you're already sick and expect an instant cure, right? You take vitamins continuously to prevent getting sick in the first place. Constructive self-talk is a daily, proactive habit that you absolutely need to build and maintain mental resilience.
And you know why these daily affirmations work so well? Because they satisfy both sides of our brain. We aren't purely logical robots, and we aren't purely emotional creatures either. Great self-talk bridges that gap. It combines logic and emotion. By repeating constructive statements, you are literally rewiring your brain to replace self-limiting beliefs with higher expectations, and that is absolutely crucial for developing strong emotional intelligence.
Because we are constantly talking to ourselves, leaving negative self-talk unchecked is literally dragging you down. Imagine trying to run a race, but you've got 30 kilograms attached to each ankle. No way, right? But that is exactly what negative self-talk does to your potential. Mechanically, it completely sabotages an otherwise successful performance.
This brings us to the idea of mantras, and the origin of the word mantra is actually super fascinating. This isn't just some fluffy yoga terminology. It actually derives from Lithuvia, a very ancient Lithuanian word which literally means a thought behind speech or action. A mantra acts as a totally personalized mental key that opens a specific lock in your mind. The words have to be exactly right to draw out the correct emotional response from you. That is exactly why you can't just borrow someone else's self-talk. It has to be uniquely yours to trigger your specific resonance.
Now here's a fun twist. Often, the absolute best self-talk isn't a statement at all. It's a question. Take the famous children's character, Bob the Builder. If Bob just looked at his crew and said, "Go fix it," they'd probably grumble and say, fix it yourself, buddy." But Bob asked the question, "Can we fix it?" And what does everyone naturally answer? Yes, we can. Human psychology is just wired to respond to questions. Asking yourself an empowering question is honestly one of the most effective ways to hijack your brain's negative patterns.
Let me tell you about a 52-year-old runner named Maria. She was tackling her very first half marathon. About 3/4 of the way through, she completely hit the wall. Her legs were burning, and her negative self-talk started screaming that she couldn't finish. So she asked herself a question. "Maria, can you count to 60? Her brain answered, "Well, yeah, I can." She focused solely on counting 60 left footsteps, which came out to about half a kilometer. When she finished that, she just asked again, "Can you count to 60 again?" By focusing her mind purely on an activity she could control, she silenced the negativity and crushed the race.
But we also really have to catch ourselves when we use completely useless self-talk. Think about standing outside and saying, "Wow, it's 100 degrees out. It's really hot." Well, yeah, it is, but stating the obvious negative facts doesn't actually help you. When negative thoughts, let's call them Mr. Mediocrity, come creeping in, you need a way to chase them away. Sometimes a little humor works best, or sometimes you literally just need to mentally look at that thought and say, "Shut up." You have to stop that thought from feeding and growing any uglier.
You can't just leave a blank vacuum in your mind, though. You have to use what elite military commandos, like the Navy SEALs, call the art of thought replacement. A 28-year Navy SEAL veteran actually noted that in their training, they are taught to actively replace a negative thought with a constructive, positive one to immediately build confidence. You don't just banish the bad stuff, you deliberately install the good stuff.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the real power lies in subtle word shifts. For instance, saying, "I can't do that," is a total showstopper. It basically tells your brain's energy centers to just pack up and take the day off. But if you replace it with, "I think I can do that, I just don't know how yet," you instantly open up your mental resources. Saying you can opens the possibility. Adding that you don't know how yet opens up a whole world of alternatives for learning and exploring. It's a total game changer. So if you want to craft your own sticky note mantras, you need 3 things for sure. First, make it first person. Use words like I or my. Second, keep it in the present tense, like I am becoming or I am choosing to. And crucially, use vivid, descriptive words that spark a crystal-clear mental picture. The clearer the picture in your brain, the stronger the emotional feeling it creates, which then drives your real-world behavior. I challenge you to write 5 of these on sticky notes and slap them on your bathroom mirror today.
When you start mastering this inner dialogue, a fundamental shift happens for you. You upgrade from being a thermometer to a thermostat. A thermometer just passively reflects the temperature of uncontrollable external events. It literally just reacts to stress. But a thermostat? A thermostat actively controls the inner emotional temperature. You get to decide exactly how you are going to feel, rather than letting random circumstances dictate your attitude.
A huge part of regulating that internal temperature is the self-talk we use when we encounter fear. Because let's face it, fear usually isn't logical. It's a completely fabricated narrative created by our imagination. You've probably heard the classic acronym for it, false evidence appearing real. And the absolute only way to shatter this false evidence is through action. Action cures fear. When you step up and act despite the discomfort, you completely conquer those false perceptions and build unstoppable momentum.
Which leads us to probably one of the most destructive phrases we ever say to ourselves. Well, that's just the way I am. No, that completely rules out the possibility of change. As the old saying goes, when a person steps into a river a second time, it's not the same river and they are not the same person. You are constantly evolving. By taking control of your words, you get to consciously design your own identity. You are a work in progress every single day.
So what does this all mean for you right now?
Well, the most important question I can leave you with is this. What negative thought are you going to replace today? We've seen the mechanics, and we know for a fact we are constantly talking to ourselves. It is time to finally take off those 30-kilogram ankle weights, step up, be your own biggest cheerleader, replace that false evidence, and just watch how your results transform. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.